Matthew?
Sure, thanks a lot. Matthew Lee, Inner City Press, on behalf of the Free UN Coalition for Access. Thanks for the briefing. I wanted to, first, I was really struck by what you said about public-private partnerships, because we hear more and more about them, and we don't hear a lot of criticism or at least questioning of them in this room. So if you could just say even, say more what you think the UN should do on that trend. And I wanted to understand DPI a little bit more in terms of, is this conference or does the group work on access issues, the access of NGOs, not one into the building, but two into. I know that every time there's a conference, there's a lot of dispute about the rights of NGO to participate, to be in the room. And is this the body that works on that? And then finally, what do you do for NGOs in the field? I was looking at the UN Information Center from Colombo talking about this conference, and I know that there, just as one example, there's been a big crackdown on NGOs. They say they can't hold press conference, they can't talk to the media. And this is not the only country, but I wonder what's the role of the UN or of this conference in sort of advocating for the rights of NGOs to do their work out in, I don't want to say in the real world, but in the field, as they say. Thanks.
I'd like to respond to your question regarding public-private partnerships. As someone who's been sitting on the meetings of the Sustainable Development Financing Committee, and I made a point to make statements over and over again that the UN system has to be very careful in how it's approaching the public and private partnership, because it can go either way. It can either be very bad or it can bring some good results. For that to happen, for the good results to happen, they need to have a really strong safeguard system in place, and to have corporations and whatever private sector accountable to what they're doing. We are not, indigenous peoples are not against private sector. It's just there has to be a system of accountability and monitoring and control. And I think that the United Nations has to be very careful in how it's approaching this.
Maha, would you like to address the access issue?
Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. I think if we look, this is the 65th DPI NGO conference. So these conferences have taken place over 65 years. We didn't have for the last two, and their focus is the theme of the conference, and therefore that's what the NGOs come here to talk about. In this case, the post-2015 development agenda and our action agenda from civil society's point of view. The previous one in Bonn was on prior to Rio +20 and volunteerism and so on and so forth. So that's really what the focus of the conference is. It also presents an opportunity for NGOs other than those that are normally present in New York to come from other countries and to have their input. So that's what we try to facilitate, that it's not just the NGOs that have a presence in New York that can be here in New York. I believe what you're referring to is the NGO Access Committee that works independently, and their NGOs can have access to the UN and attend meeting in two ways. One, if they are associated to the Economic and Social Council, which is a process that goes through member state screening, and therefore these NGOs are entitled and they are invited to meetings, and then in some case even speaking in government representative meetings, and NGOs that are associated through DPI, which is we are the Department of Public Information, so our primary purpose is to disseminate information, to tell the UN story, and to also help NGOs understand better and help us tell that story further. So that is our role and relationship with the NGOs. In terms of NGOs in the field, our UN information centers work very closely with them, but DPI, I mean, of course, there's human rights offices, they are the ones who might take up the issue and maybe on the freedom of the press, that's UNESCO, but I mean as well. So it's not really the role that we do in the field. We work with information, facilitating the sharing of information, working with them, and helping them reach a wider audience also through coming to the UN in New York.
Okay, thank you. The gentleman